Good afternoon. It is Saturday and it is 4 o'clock. It must be time for the senior moment. This is Connie Clark with Home Helpers. And this beautiful afternoon, I have two gentlemen here from the Better Business Bureau, Chris Byram
Hello.
and Bob Hammerstead.
Hello.
And we're going to talk about these two gentlemen have two very different roles that they play in the Better Business Bureau when they're dealing with scams, unethical behavior, that sort of thing. So the first thing I'm going to do is ask each of you to kind of describe what it is you do for the Better Business Bureau. And then let's get into some discussions about what kind of behaviors we have seen in this area targeted towards our seniors. So Chris, why don't you start?
Cool. Well, thanks for having me. And my official job title is lead investigator. And the easiest way I kind of figure out how to explain my job is you kind of think of myself as the hands-on complaint type handler, like the third level complaints. I really deal with businesses on a one-on-one basis. I'll establish patterns of complaints. Maybe a government agency calls me and say, hey, do you know anything about this? And I get really hands-on, investigative-wise, digging into more details, and then I'll address it with the business and try to hopefully find some sort of way to help better their business practices so they stop doing it, or get some more information so we can alert, so I can pass on to our media specialist to alert the public.
Okay. Do you deal directly with the people complaining, or is it more of a mass kind of?
I can pretty much do whatever. So there's,
Okay.
depending on what's going on, sometimes I'll go direct to the consumer, call the consumer, interview them, talk to them. Sometimes I'll just go off their complaints. Other times I can go to ex-employees and talk to them, or current employees, and try to get some information from them. And there has been some times that I'll actually pose as a consumer, and I'll secret shop them and get a first-hand experience of what's happening. And the ultimate goal is to not say, hey, business, you're bad, 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 but it's to actually find out the full story, the full picture, in order to get to address it with the business owner. So.
Okay. So you deal with more with businesses that might have issues.
Yeah, and sometimes there'll be some scams that come across that come down to me as like, hey, can we figure out where this is at, or can we tell if this is a scam that I'll look into? But the majority of my job is kind of that, like I said, that third tier complaint and dealing with the businesses themselves.
Okay. And Bob, you do something totally different.
Mine is pretty much on the scam end of
Okay.
it. It's getting information out to consumers. I take in the initial calls that come into the Better Business Bureau. Kathy and I both, she works with me. And we take the initial call from the consumer and address whatever issue they have. They're usually asking about scams, or they'll ask about a business, what kind of rating they have. They're ready to do, they're online, or they got a call about a business that they might want to do business with. They call us, ask us what we know about the business, what we can tell them about their ethics, complaint load, how long they've been in business, that type of thing. And
So you would get the call about the person who called and said, Grandma, I ran out of money. That's that kind of thing.
yes.
Versus I went and got my car fixed and it's still broken.
Well, we do that as
Oh,
well.
you do?
That's it.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I get a lot of my leads from Bob. He does
Oh,
a lot
okay.
of first-hand work for me. That's awesome, and he hands it down.
Okay.
Yeah.
What kind of things are you seeing now? We've got the holiday season coming in. Does that increase the amount of complaints and the amount of people trying to take advantage of others? Do you see that, or is it just kind of goes along the same all year round?
Well, we get a lot more. We get a lot of input from consumers. I'll learn to talk. It's more based on business reviews. They want to know about businesses because there's so much online business going on during Christmas. People are ordering more online and through the computers than they used to. So they want to know more about the businesses that they know they have great sales, and they've got beautiful websites and all of that usually lure consumers in. But they don't know anything about the business themselves. So we get more of that than the scam activity. It's usually it's credit card type activities, buying on credit cards, just lotteries, things like that. But the holidays is more inquiries about businesses themselves, and that's where the problems come, is the fake businesses coming up online. They'll take orders from people, take their credit card information, and then from there do their damage.
and you're waiting and waiting for that Christmas present to be delivered, and it never shows.
Exactly, and then you find out your credit card is maxed out, and or your bank account's empty or whatever, because you've dealt with a business that really is not a business. It's somebody sitting in their living room in Canada or India and taking your money.
What kind of things do you see going on now? Is there some activity happening that the public should be aware of?
The biggest thing that has come across has been since spring, and it's continuing on and kind of peaks and goes away, is these door-to-door sales. Specifically, the beginning of the year, there was magazine sales that came through town, and now there are security systems. There's a couple different security system companies that are out of state that came into our state. From my understanding, is they do it every year. But they go from city to city. They stay in like Post Falls for a week or two. They go to Coeur d'Alene for another week. They come back to Spokane. They kind of just move around, and they go door to door. And they'll say, sometimes they'll say, "I'm with the sheriff's department. I'm selling systems on behalf of the sheriff's department," or "I'm with your utility system, your utility company," and they're going around upgrading your system. I'm here to check, make sure your current system's good, and to upgrade you. Couple different stories, but yeah, that's the biggest thing that I've been hearing recently, is these door-to-door sales.
Yeah, I can relate to what you're talking about when they're coming around saying, "I'm going to upgrade you," or "This was just passed, and so now you're entitled to, something better," or whatever. I heard that around in the summertime. I didn't know they were still in this area.
Yeah, I honestly thought that they had kind of skipped town. They usually, when it gets colder, they go back. A lot of them, there's two that I know that are based in Utah. So I thought they both had left. We thought that everyone else had kind of taken off. But there has been more and more calls recently, especially this last week. Of just, I got this business at my door. Can you tell me if they're legitimate? I bought a security system from them. Or they came in and upgraded, and I found out, it's a brand new company. So yeah, they're still around. There's another one that I know of that's also from Utah. I don't know why they're all coming from Utah. But they've actually said to me when I first talked to them in May that they're going to be in the Spokane area. So a lot of them based out of Spokane, and they move around all eastern Washington, North Idaho. But they're in the Spokane area year-round now. So they'll be doing it year-round. I don't know if there's any truth in that, but it kind of concerns me if they're going to continue doing what they're doing right now.
So if somebody comes to your door, well, let me ask you this. Legitimate alarm system companies, do they come knocking on people's doors?
It's going to vary from business to business. Some like Comcast is a good example. So they do have subcontracted businesses, other businesses, to go out and sell their contracts door to door. And I've had them at my door many, many times at different places that I've lived. So that's kind of their thing. Some of the other security systems in particular will just go out their name. And, they have a storefront. You go in, you say, "Hi, I want to get a security system," or you call them up. Others, like these ones, will go door to door and knock. They're actual businesses, they're actual companies. It's just their sales practices and the actual part of the sales pitch and how they're selling the security systems is the big concern.
So they're a legitimate company. It's just all the components of that company are not quite in sync.
And most of, like I said, most of it is the sales tactics. They're saying they're associated with somebody that they're not, or you're here to upgrade something and they're not. That's the biggest concern to us. As far as I've seen, the actual monitoring system, that when you actually purchase it, and a couple of weeks down the road, you have another company doing the monitoring, is okay. They don't have a lot of complaints on them. But the actual ones that are being subcontracted to go door to door on behalf of these companies are what I see as the problem.
So if someone does come to your door and say they're trying to sell you an alarm system, upgrade your system, whatever, in order to protect yourself and find out if, this is for real, what should you ask? What should you do?
Well, first and foremost, as somebody who just recently had this happen, do not open the door until you identify who the person is. You never know if it's an actual business or if it's somebody trying to break into your home and case your house. So if you have like a safety door, or you can even talk through the door, make them somehow make them show identity. So get a name. They should have the business name. You can get a phone number to the business, and you can either you're more than your right to be like, hey, you know what? Come back in a few minutes. Let me verify who you are, and that's totally fine. But identification is the biggest thing. Usually, they're going to have a picture on a ID card with their name, maybe an employee number, a phone number you can call and verify, and you just call the business or call them up or even call the Better Business Bureau, and we're like, you know what, this person is associated with this business, or in the case of you call us, we're like, yeah, well, that's a legitimate business. Just make sure you get their name and you identify that it's an actual employee of them.
Yeah, and I could see where this could be an issue door to door, especially as the holidays come. People might have increased goodies in their house, you know, where they've bought presents or whatever, and someone is just trying to look in to see what you got to make it walk away, so to speak.
Yeah, and you never know who's at the door. I mean, I was away, like I said, I had a firsthand experience. I was away 2 weeks ago at a Citizens Academy for the Sheriff's Department. It was kind of a cool thing. But my wife was asleep at home, and someone had knocked on the door. It was 8 o'clock at night. A little late for someone to be doorbelling or going door to door. But needless to say, they knocked on the door. She was awake. She was awoken. And it turned out the guy broke into our garage and stole some stuff while she was home. But what we were told from the Sheriff's Department is that they will burglars will knock on the door. Sometimes they'll kick in the door if you open it. Sometimes they'll just see if you're home, and then if you answer their door, they'll just pretend they're a salesperson and mumble their way through everything and walk away. So that's the first thing for anything before you open that door, before you let that person in, is identify who they are, who they're working for, and if there's any way you feel uncomfortable, just be like, you know what, no thanks, go away.
Should door-to-door salesmen have permits? Do some of the cities around here require that?
Yes. I don't know off the top of my head which ones. I know Spokane does. I think Post Falls does as well. But some of the counties, it varies. Some of them you just have to be registered with the Secretary of State as a business operating, which any normal business would need to be. But it varies by jurisdiction. So, it's just a permit saying, hey, I'm going door to door. You pay a little fee, and then it says, I'm registered. So if the police do want to talk to you, they're like, yeah, this is an actual person that has registered.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bob, what kind of things do you see increased going on right now?
Mine's more of like telephone scams, mail scams. People get emails on theirs. Most of them right now are winning contests. That's most of the calls I get are people that I've won a contest. I've received a check. I've got a check here for $4,500. They've sent that to me so that I can pay the legal fees, the taxes, all of that. So what they're asking them to do is, and it's a real check that they get, but it's written on an account that doesn't know that they have the check. So when they go to the bank and they say, I want to deposit this $4,500 check, if that's all they tell the bank will run it and it'll have sufficient funds and they'll accept it and put it in your account. Well, at that point, you're asked to turn around and send, of the $4,500, they would usually ask for about $4,000 be sent to another agency, what they'll call it IRS or FBI or somebody for some reason, send in this amount to pay your taxes or carrier fee or whatever, and then your prize will be delivered. Well, the bank has taken the check, so they think it's legitimate, and they're thinking, well, they want 4,000 of the 4,500 back, so even if it's a scam, I'm going to have 500
I'm making $500, yeah.
But in about 2 weeks, you get a call from your bank or a letter or a visit, and they say that this is a bad check, it's a fraudulent check, we want our $4,500 back. And you've already sent 4,000 of it, of your money, to the scammers, and you'll never see it again. And at that point, the bank wants their money back, and there is no forgiveness from the bank. You do have to pay the debt.
That's interesting, because you would think if you put it in and it accepted it and you waited like a week and never heard anything, then everything was okay.
That's what they're counting on. That's the business. When your bank gets the check, they clear it, then they go through their process locally, and then they send the check back to the person the agency that it's written on or the company that it's written on. Well, they go through their process and they start seeing these checks, and it's like, we didn't write these checks. So they turn it over to their attorneys or their legal advisors, whoever, and then they have to go back to the banks that sent it to them, and through this process, all this time's passing. Well, your money's gone. You've already, most people think that a check is passed when the bank takes it from you.
Right.
And the bank takes it because it's written on a legitimate account. So it's not that they're missing anything. It's just they're accepting a legal check. And by the time that it gets back to that bank, what they're saying is, this is a fraudulent check. We didn't write it. It's not on our account. We're not accepting it. So it goes back to your bank, and your bank has to pay them back. And so they're saying, we want the money back from this fraudulent check. You cashed it, and you are responsible for this. You brought it in, and it's yours, and you do have to pay that money back.
Good grief. Well, I want to talk. Gee, I didn't know that. I
It's
need
very
to,
smooth. That's why it works.
I need to. I want to talk about this, but I need to take a break. But we'll be right back. I want to find out more about this. You've been listening to the Senior Moment. We'll be right back. So they stole somebody's check.
Well, it's just, yeah, since they're not listening to this part, okay. You can go down to like Staples, Office Depot, whatever, and buy a check writing program. And it costs about $50, $60, depending on how fancy it is. All you need is an account number. And you put it in, and you can design your checks, make them very business-like. It puts all the material you need. It puts the barcode on the bottom. The bank account number, well, let's say I get a check from Ed's Mobile.
All I need to do is write down those numbers.
Yeah, RV's Northwest out here. I get a refund check from them. I put down those numbers that are on there in the account. It's my account now. So I send off a check to Chris for $4,000. Well, when the bank gets it from Chris, they look at it and they check it and they run the numbers. It's RV's, Northwest RV's. They've got $4,000 in their account. We'll take the check. So we got it. Your good check. It's in your account. You're good to go. Well, then he goes out and does what he wants with his money. And by then, the bank sends it back to Northwest RV's bank, and then they send it to RV's, and RV's goes, this isn't on our books. We didn't write this check. And then they find out and usually the business has a lot of checks come back.
Yeah.
Because they're really hammering them for a while, and then they dump them and go to another one. So they get a whole pile of these checks, and it's like, then it's an investigation. These aren't ours. They start sending them back to the banks and going, sorry, but you're out. And the bank's like, I'm not out. And the Attorney General's got boxes of these, just boxes of those checks. And they've made arrests from people that won't pay the money back or hesitate on making the money back. And there's people that have done community service there.
Wow.
It works so well because the check passes. If you walk up to most banks and say, I got this check, I won a contest, the clerks know to talk to you, and they'll stop you because they get them so often.
Wow.
But if you don't and you just want to deposit it, they take it. It's a transaction, and they move on.
Well, let's keep talking. Oh my goodness. Okay, are you ready?
You bet.
And we're back. Welcome back to the Senior Moment. I've been talking with Bob and Chris here about scams. They're from the Better Business Bureau. And Bob was just talking about a scam that has been going on here lately, that they'll say you want a contest, for example, send you a check for money to cover legal fees, taxes, whatever. You deposit it, bank accepts it, everything's wonderful, and then they ask you to pay for those legal fees or whatever. You send them the money, and then the check bounces.
Exactly.
So you've got a number of victims here. You've got the person who, so to speak, won the contest.
Right.
And then you've got the people who originally owned that bank account, because
Right.
that was a real bank account that those checks were drawn on.
Exactly. They're being scammed as well as the person who won the contest.
And you were saying that when these checks come in, it's not just one or two. They get piles and piles because the scammers are really putting it out there.
Right. They like to use an account as much as possible because they've gone to the trouble of getting the information, printing it on the checks. And they'll send a lot of checks out on one account, knowing that not everybody's going to fall for it, but enough of them will that the checks will return to that business's account. And that's when the business gets all these checks back in that they know they haven't written. It gets to be an investigation. They turn it back to their bank goes back to your bank, and your bank comes back to you and says, we want our money back.
And you really don't have a choice at that point. You were saying you have to give that money back.
Right. The state attorney general's office has been involved. They've made arrests. There is no forgiveness from the bank. They don't have an insurance fund that pays back for scammers. It's a consumer loss, and we see a lot of people that are, they're Social Security, welfare, single parents that don't have the money that see this windfall come in, and they can't believe how good a luck they're having, so they just fall into it, and then they're wiping out everything they have, and the scammer doesn't care. I mean, they don't care if they ruin you. They've got their money, and you won't see it again. You won't get the money back because they're always outside of the country. The check will always have a U.S. address. They'll give them a number, an address that usually goes to New York, Utah, Florida, a local address, but what it is like a mail forwarding service that you send it to there, and it automatically gets forwarded to Canada, India, Africa, anywhere that they want to send it. So there's nobody here connected with it. So our agencies, the FBI, all the local federal agencies cannot go outside of the country to pursue these. So they have to contact the agencies in those countries and get cooperation from them to work the cases, and that's not always the easiest thing for them. So you're generally out of the money that you've given away.
And you think it's legitimate. It's got a U.S. address, and it looks like it would have been a real check, you know.
They are so believable that a lot of the people, not a lot, but some of the people that I've had on the phone, we go through the entire steps on how it's done, and by the time they're off, they still are headed to the bank. They still believe that it's legitimate, and they disregard everything that we've warned them about, and they'll go to the bank and deposit the check. And those are the ones that have to watch for the legal end. The state attorney general, the local law, can make arrests in that case because you were aware that you were involved in a scam and you went ahead with it. Then you're involved in the scam, and you can be arrested for that.
So if someone comes to you and says you've won this, there's a settlement, whatever, if you'd never initiated anything, do they give you things like you've won Publishers Clearinghouse or something that they think a lot of people have entered in? Yeah, are these contests that you would think, oh yeah, I think I entered that?
Right.
You know?
Reader's Digest, Publishers Clearinghouse, they have legitimate contests. First off, you have to enter to win. So if you haven't entered Reader's Digest or Publishers Clearinghouse, you're not going to win it. Second is they use names that are very close to it. It'll be the Reader's Digest Publishers contest or Publishers Clearing Warehouse, or names that are so familiar that they don't have to justify them, but they're not using that company's name. They'll give you phone numbers to call to verify. Here's the number to the FBI that's sponsoring this event. Trust me, the FBI does not sponsor contests. They'll give them numbers to the FBI, the legal people, the lawyers that are behind it, the companies that are sponsoring it. You get all these telephone numbers to verify, but all those telephone numbers go back to the scammer. And they've got like an 8-button phone sitting in front of them, so when button number 3 lights up, they know they have to be the FBI. So they punch number 3, they answer as the FBI, and the people are like, oh my goodness, it is the FBI, and this is legit, and they're, oh yes, we're sponsoring this, we know, we've checked them out, and they're all legal, and yes, you're a winner, it shows right here, so go ahead and send in the money, and they'll get off the phone, they're all excited. So if you want to call, get in your phone book or call for directory assistance, ask for the FBI's phone number, or ask for the agency that they're giving you a number for. Never use the phone number that they provide for you. And then call that agency and say, you know, like the FBI, I've received this, and they'll explain how it works from that point on.
Good grief. That's mind-boggling to me. And I'm sure there's been people around here who have fallen for that, because there's a lot of people on hard times right now. So they're looking for easy money, easy way out. Wow, this is great. You know, I've been saved. I'm going to get to keep my house or my car or whatever. And
yeah. Anytime you see a contest as well, it says it's based with the United Kingdom. The UK is a lot of them. The German lottery, you know, you've won because you shopped it. And they give major businesses like Walmart or Best Buy or Home Depot or some big major name, knowing that the majority of the population's hit one of those stores somewhere in the last couple of months. And they'll say, yeah, it's because of your purchase. Your information was taken, you were automatically entered, and you won. And, you know, and this is coming from Germany. If it's outside of the country, it's against federal law. You cannot be involved with that lottery. You have to go to Germany to enter a lottery. You have to go to Germany to collect anything you win. It can't be shipped to the U.S., and you can't have an interaction from within the U.S. That's a federal law. So, and the same check cashing scam works like on Craigslist. If you're buying a car or selling a car and somebody calls you and says, I want your car, but uh, right now I can't get there because I live in Kansas, but I love this car. It's exactly what I've been working for and living for. And I'm going to send you a check. And your car's say $5,000. They want to send you one for $7,000. And I'm going to have a guy that's going to come out, and he's a shipper. He's going to pick up the car for me and bring it back, or the stove or whatever it is you're selling. And we've actually had stoves purchased from the East Coast, and why they would come clear here to buy a stove. But and what you're doing is okay, now I'm going to send you the check, and here comes that check again, the fraudulent one that looks good and passes the bank. You take it down to the bank, you deposit it. Well, now I've got to send most of this check to the shipper that's coming to get my car. And so you call the shipper at the number they provided, and here's where it is. Send me you can usually wire it if you go to Walmart and send it out by wire. You can wire me the money, and then we'll be out in 3 days to pick up your car. And they're all excited, and they send it off, and of course they never see the shipper, they never see anybody, and 2 weeks later their bank's calling them and they're saying, we want our money back for that check.
Do you ever see them do that and then actually come and get the car?
No.
Oh, okay.
I've never. If you get onto Craigslist right now,
I wish.
Craigslist, it's the reason it's so easy on Craigslist is, and I use Craigslist, is because it's not. They don't monitor it that close. Each item, it's like advertising. You take the advertisement. If it's a problem, then you pull it. And Craigslist is the same way. It's a fairly open. It's free on most cases on things you're selling. You can sell anything personally. So they don't have the ability to check every ad that comes in. So people, they tend to get on there, and the scammers, they use it as a base because it's so easy for them to get in and out of. Craigslist does an amazing job of listing the scams. It's just nobody goes to that section of Craigslist where it says right at the top of the page, current scams or common scams. It's almost everywhere on their site. But nobody reads it.
I never knew they had anything like that on there.
See?
And I've been on there lots of times.
Yeah, they're very good about telling about it. It's just nobody clicks that option to see if they're going to be scammed. They're just looking at the item they want to buy. They get wrapped up in the transaction, and next thing you know, they're taking them for a ride. And Craigslist, like your bank, is not held responsible for that. They'll pull the ad, and they give you the option to pull the ad if you found that it's a scam, but they're not responsible for it.
Good grief. When you were talking about the checks, I'm thinking, okay, that's just isolated to contests. But no, they use those for all kinds of things.
Right. If anybody sends you a check and asks you to turn around and send them money back to anybody with using that check, call us at the BBB or call Crime Check, whoever you feel, call us, because 99% of the time it's a scam. They don't. It's like a contest. In this country, it's against the law to charge the consumer a fee to win a contest. They can't charge you for the stamp to mail it to you. They have to remove that money from the prize and then present you with the prize. It's like the IRS. They get a good chunk of all the contests won in this state, but they remove it from the prize and then give you the prize. They don't give you the prize and say, now pay us
back
out of it. They have to take it all out, and then you get what's left of the prize, but you don't pay anything to win a contest.
Good grief.
Mm-hmm. I know. So we see it every day. It can be saddening when you get someone that actually has done the scheme, and you're like, oh, well, this is the stuff that you got to do, and there's not really too much they can do, but pay back some of the money, or I don't know. But most of the time we catch we catch them before they actually send the money, or they cash the check, or maybe they've cashed the check and they just have the money in their hand and they're waiting to send it, and we're just like, well, you go put that back in the bank and let them know what's going on. But yeah,
if you go to Western Union, where they tell you to usually go, because wiring gets them the money immediately, and they can wire it, it ends up anywhere in the world. Where they tell you isn't always where it ends up. But Western Union has signs and warnings as well. All their employees know about these scams. They're well versed, and they'll stop you as well. If you walk in and say, I want a contest, and I'm gonna, or this guy's shipping a car, I'm shipping a car out, and I'm supposed to pay him first. They've got signage, and their employees are well versed on how this works, and they'll stop them as well. If you can't get past, if you don't believe the signs on the wall and what people are telling you, then expect to be making a payment very shortly.
And I think that's interesting about it being posted on Craigslist, because I remember getting something when I posted something on Craigslist, or if I've posted something and someone has sent me an email back or something, there's always a scam warning. But I never really looked to see where the list was of current scams. You know, I'm thinking, yeah, okay. And then you continue on. You never, I guess, take that seriously. I don't know.
Well, they've got computer programs, the scammers. That's the problem nowadays, is they're too high tech. They're not the plaid pants and the scar above the eye type of people anymore. These guys are very high tech. They know what they're doing. They've put this plan together because they make so much money at doing it. They could have very productive jobs. They could be very good in a technological field, that type of thing, but they make more money as a scammer, and it's easier. So that's why they're getting so good at this stuff. They will look at they have programs that will sweep through Craigslist and pick up all the phone numbers off the ads, and then you become part of their identity background. That's why you see so many ads on Craigslist now. When if I was selling my car, and instead of putting in the 509 and my phone number, some of the numbers are actually written, like the 5 would be FIVE, and they'll put those type of letters in there to confuse the programs that the scammers are using. And if you sell something on Craigslist now that's $500 or more, there's a good chance one of your contacts at least is going to be a scammer, because they watch it. Their programs kick them out on where they are and what they are, and it's amazing. They'll always be outside of your area. There won't be somebody to actually look at your product or whatever it is you're selling. They're just going to send you money, and it's usually in excess of what you're asking.
Good grief. Okay, what other... you guys are scaring me.
Good.
What other kinds of things do you see happening? One of the things that I know better than if I get an email or someone calls and says they're the bank or something and they need to verify my information, they don't normally do those kinds of things, correct? Or do they?
No, and they even say it on like the actual bank statements. They'll say, such and such bank will never ask for your personal information. So the biggest thing to do is when you get those and like, hey, we need to verify, click here, log in, and we need to verify your information, is to actually go to the website. Don't just click on the link. If it's Bank ABC or whatever, you can go to abc.com. I guess that's an actual news organization. But
yeah, that's a real company.
Yeah, I'm like, wait a minute. So like Bank of America, they'll send you a thing, and like, it might look legitimate. They might be the Bank of America logo on the top, the letterhead. The wording might look pretty good, except for if you start reading into it, you can see some of the English is not so well. But they've gotten a lot better. And then even at the bottom, it'll look like legitimate, like Visa logos or something. And it'll say, click here, log into your account. And what is happening, and I don't go and do this, I don't actually try it, is you'll click on it, it redirects you to a site that looks like a Bank of America sign-in.
Tried to clone it.
Yeah, but it's not. And they steal all your login information, and they can go and take your money and mess around with it. So the best thing to do is if you see something like that, is to call the bank directly using the phone number that you got at the bank. Go visit the bank, go to their website, actually look it up and go
type
to it.
Type in the letters of their website.
Exactly,
not just
exactly.
Click on the link.
Yeah, just verify it, and then delete the email or make it be sent to your junk email. So
when you get things like that, because I get a lot of junk mail, things that I know. I'm in India, and your great uncle left you, $6 million. I know to send that off. Yeah, like you're showing me. I know to send that off to my junk email. But I know that there's some stuff that they send out there that looks legit.
Mm-hmm.
So after the break, can we talk about some of those things that you've seen that people are falling for?
Sure.
That might sound real, but they're not. I mean, the ones that you're saying, their English isn't so good, those I know, they go in my junk mail. But I'm sure there's some that come out that look for real and for true.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, we're going to take a break, and we'll be right back.
I think one of our other biggest scam things right now are work at home jobs.
Oh, yes.
People get online.
I always forget about that.
In fact, it's always fun just say, type in work. I want to work at home or something in Google or Yahoo or whatever you use, and then sit back and watch your computer load because the pop-ups are everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
And people will call and say, well, I need to know if this is legitimate work at home. And it's like, we haven't found one yet that's been offered on the internet that's legit. They're work at home, they don't have to go on the internet to find people to work at home. I'd work at home if I could find a good one.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry,
I forgot
boss, I
about
didn't
that.
say
That's
that.
that's a big one because a lot of people will.
Because they're looking for jobs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they won't even think about it. Yeah.
And it's always a fee involved. There's, you're working at home. Okay, we're going to need you like a symbol of product. And once it meets our standards, we'll hire you and we'll send you 100 of these a week, and you'll ship them out. Well, you pay $99 for the test product and get all your shipping done. And next thing you know, they send it back, and you've got a birdhouse or whatever, and you build it and send it back to them. It never meets their standards. So you're just out the 99 bucks. Well, they spent $2 for a birdhouse box. And you send it back to them, and they go, I'm sorry, it's just not up to our standards of what we need. And you could be a master craftsman. It doesn't matter. They won't take it. But usually it's just a matter of, we want you to do this. They don't interview you, nothing. We need you to send $200 for your background check and for us to send you out all the stuff that you need. And you bite because they want a job. I mean, these people are out of work.
Yeah.
And they need the money, and they want a job. They want to believe it. So in their mind, they're not using a lot of logic. And so they'll come back and they'll say, great, we got you in here. It looks like we have an opening in your area. So we're going to send you out a list of all these things for you to do, but we're going to need another $200 to cover for this. And so they'll send it because they're all excited that they got the job. And it is very legitimate. You look on, the websites are beautiful. It's not like just tacky little websites. They're all very well done. They've got connections that go everywhere. They don't care. And they'll send it back, and it's like, okay, here's my $200. I have people call me on the phone and say, well, so far I've sent them $1,100, and now they want 120 more. And have you heard about them? And it hurts to hear those calls. But Kathy, the one woman I work with on Monday this week, had one, and the woman's $200,000
Oh, my goodness.
into this agency that she's won money from, and her husband just passed away recently, and she has debts, and she just knows that once she gets this, she'll be okay. And in her mind, that's all she's focused on is that prize at the the end of the stick. And she spent every dime that she's had, his insurance money, everything. And then she called to ask about this group, and it just my partner's having a hard time dealing with it herself.
Do you see much in the multi-level marketing?
Not as much as we
No.
used to. It's still out there, but it's too easy to pick up on.
Okay.
You can find it. There's some smooth ones, but it's not as big a problem as it used to be.
Okay. All right. So when we get back, we'll talk about
Work at home and grants.
work at home. Oh, grants. Oh, okay.
That's another one.
And we're back. Welcome back to the Senior Moment. I have Chris and Bob here from the Better Business Bureau, and they've really been scaring me because we've been talking about scams and businesses that don't quite fit the mold of your perfect Better Business Bureau accredited business, so to speak. And we were talking about some of the things you might get in the mail or on the internet that say you've won this, or your great uncle passed away and left you all this money, but you were mentioning during the break something that you were just really throwing at me, because there's a lot of people out there that are out of work,
Right.
and they're desperately looking for work, and you see all kinds of things on the internet, on TV, in the newspaper about work at home. And you were just saying some of the scams that they're using to get money out of people who don't have any money, who are trying to find jobs, thinking they've found a job that they can stay home with the kids or whatever. What do they do with that? And you said you've never found one where you have to send money that's legit.
Right. Work at home is probably most of the population's dream idea of a job, is to be able to get up in the morning in your pajamas and get started and make good money.
We got two of those in our office.
Oh, you're going to pay for that one.
Oh.
But yeah, it's a dream job, and everybody would like to have one, especially if you're unemployed, working from home. If you have children, If you're a single parent, if you have somebody you're caring for, that type of thing, it's a home work at home is really your only option. And so they'll jump on the internet and try work at home. And like I was telling you, you better sit back because you're going to get flooded with offers. None of these offers, and I'm going to say that publicly, none of these offers are legitimate. They're all designed to come out and get your money, and that's money that you don't have, but they want what you have left. These scammers know going in that they're dealing with people that are on hard times.
They're
that
desperate.
They are desperate, and that's what they're counting on is they're desperate enough to not use logic. They're looking at this job, and from the moment they contact you, they're going to make you believe that you have a job, that it's coming, that's right there. They have an opening in your town. You're able to do this, or we're going to, like I was telling you, we're going to send out a product that we need you to assemble. So what you do is it costs you $99, of course, for the shipping, and we're going to do your employee background check and all that. But that's easy because you'll make that back within the first week. But we're going to send you a product, and we need you to put it together and then send it back to us. We'll check it all out, and once you're passed, we'll be sending like 100 of these to you a week, and we're paying you $20 a piece for the ones you assemble. Well, this is a dream job for most, especially guys with tools. And so they send out a $2 birdhouse kit, and you put it together, and it's beautiful, and you put it in a box and ship it back. Well, it never passes. It's never up to their standards. So they apologize, and they're just sorry you're not who they're looking for, and you're out the money. That's the easy ones. The other ones will come in, and yes, we have a job for you. Mystery shopper jobs are huge, and that's another one of the checks. We're going to send you $2,000. You go out and spend $50 at Burger King and $100 at Macy's, and then $2,000 because we're doing Western Union wants us to check on their clerks at this location for honesty, and we want you to spend $2,000 of that down to Western Union and wire it to this address to make sure that these clerks are actually wiring the money. So use $2,000 of that to ship off to this address, and then the rest of it, the $150, that's your pay.
And give us the feedback how
Right.
Western Union did.
Exactly, and write all this down, and then they've got reports, they've got phone numbers that you contact, people you talk to make it all legit. So at this point, your $2,000, $3,000 check is already bad. It's been sent off.
Because that's that check that we were
Right,
talking about
right.
earlier. Okay.
Same check. You've now sent $2,000 and something off to the scammer through Western Union. They're not checking Western Union. They're just having you send them money. So the clerks aren't stealing anything at Western Union. It's just the fact that you're mailing money to the scammer, and you've done the same thing as before. You sent it out. 2 weeks later, you get a notice from your bank. It's a bad check. You're not going to Western Union for it. They just moved it for you. They did what you asked, so they're not responsible. You're back to paying that back. Your work at home is not working. The mystery shopper's not working. There is not, if you're going to work at home, you're going to find that job on your own. You can go to like an employment agency. You can get online with particular businesses, major businesses, check their human resources page to see if they're hiring. If you get a work at home job, you're going to get interviewed, and it's going to be face to face, because if they're just hiring you and saying, yeah, we've got an opening, how do they know you're not an ex-con or,
Or you're
somebody
there to
that's,
scam them.
yeah, or they know nothing about you. They're not going to pay you. They're not going to hire you. There will be an interview, and it'll be face to face. They want to know who they're hiring is going to do the job for them. If they're not doing an interview, or if they're charging you a fee to get the job, it's a scam.
Okay. That I see a lot of work at home things, and I see a lot of secret shopper things. So I should not believe any of them, is what you're saying.
Yeah, the majority of them, like especially the work at home, I would not even put any money in the work at home stuff. Like Bob was saying, if you don't meet with the company face to face and do like a normal type of hiring process, I would just not even bother with it. Same thing with the secret shopper. I have run across, and I can't remember the names off the top of my head, but there are a very, very, very slim amount of legitimate secret shoppers. But again, it's a face-to-face interview, and it's training on how to do it. How do you do this? How do you do that? And usually, from my previous experience, is they directly hire them from the internal business. So you're actually part of the business that's being secret shopped. But yeah, most of the time, it's not legitimate, and it's something you shouldn't even bother with.
Interesting. And you said something in the break also about grants.
Right.
What is all that?
Anybody tells you, and we get them, and it is a lot of elderly people are getting the calls that they have been accepted for a grant, that they are able to use the money to fix up their house, go on a vacation, whatever they want to do with them. This grant is for you. It's being provided by the government. It's a legal grant, and you're guaranteed to get it, but you have to pay the fee, and that's where it starts. Your first fee is going to be about $200. The grant, the really funny ones, when we listen to them, and they're funny because we deal with them so often, and they sound, when you know it's a scam, you're able to kind of laugh at it. If it's happening to you, you won't laugh at all.
Right.
But they will tell you you have the option. Now, we have 3 grants available, $10,000, $20,000, or $50,000. And it depends on how much you need. You need the $50,000.
I need 50,
Right.
yes, absolutely.
So you
Take
go
that.
in and they're like, okay, but that's as high as we can go, but you aren't guaranteed to get a grant. It's here. The $50,000 one's going to cost you $800 because of the fees. We have to pay the taxes and that type, which is, you don't pay for a grant. Grants are free.
Yeah.
And the application process for a grant is unreal.
Oh, yeah,
Ask
there are pages
anybody
and pages, yeah.
You ask anybody that's trying to get a grant, you'll know. They don't just hand you one. It's a business or organization that's actually saying, we have money, we're going to give it to you for a purpose. That's a grant. They're really basic, but that's a grant. When there is not a grant out there that's going to say, use this money to paint your house, take a vacation, pay your bills. That's not what grants are about. It's usually for the betterment of mankind. There's some kind of program you're working on, some kind of product, some kind of service, something that's going to help improve mankind.
And I have seen, we do have some local grants available here for seniors for home improvement and that sort of thing. But like you said, there is quite a long application
Right.
process and a lot of bells and whistles and hoops and all that you have to go through to get them.
And there's a difference now because grant writers are also out there offering their services. So if they come to you and say, we can guarantee you're going to get a grant, you're done. Nobody can guarantee you can get a grant. So if they're promising you're going to get one, you're done with them. That is a scam. If they're coming to you and saying, we understand you have a product or something that you're doing that we find interesting, that we might be able to get a grant for you, we write grants. We do the applications for you. And, like if I sat down right now, I could honestly, I wouldn't go through the process. I wouldn't know how to. So if I knew I had a product or something I could provide that was possibly good for a large grant, I would go to a grant writer and show them what I have, give them the information. They'd sit down with me and it'd be a business transaction. They would do the work. And then they either get a fee or a percentage or however you work that out. So if you get a grant writer, they're going to say, we can apply for a grant for you. We can hope that you get accepted for a grant. That's different. If you're looking for one, call us. We can tell you what we know about them, see if they're good, bad, indifferent. Let us know. If they're saying that they can get you a grant, they can't. Nobody can guarantee a grant.
Okay, I'm not going to trust anybody else. Thank you. Chris, what kind of, I don't even want to ask this question. But, what category are you seeing right now more complaints about businesses?
I think I've only been here since January, so I'm kind of learning the different waves of different types of business. But I think we're kind of going into that transformation from construction to kind of the, I guess say specifically like heating and cooling type stuff.
So the winter type.
The winter type industry. So what I saw in spring and summer ultimately was you got construction people that are coming in, asphalt. So they'll actually, some guy will drive up in a truck like, hey, I got some extra asphalt from this job down the road.
Oh my gosh, you sound like
Yeah.
that happened to my mother-in-law.
Yeah.
Oh, that's something.
And
Exactly.
it happens a lot, and you'd be surprised. And sometimes this, it's a legitimate contractor. Well, were a contractor, or maybe they're unlicensed. In Washington State, you have to be licensed, and Idaho as well. But they'll come by and they'll steal.
Drive around with asphalt. In their
Yeah,
tractor.
yeah, and within a week or two, everything will crumble and all that. So, we see stuff like that. Sometimes roofing, but I think roofing comes later in the year, like probably about this time when you get the rainfall and you're like, oh geez, my roof's leaking, I got to get this done. So they pay the roofer, and then the roofer maybe does a really subpar job or doesn't show up at all and doesn't do it. It's like, oh, I can't get to it now. Sometimes with windows, I've seen that, and siding. So the cooler type weather things is what I'm anticipating seeing. Again, I've only been here since January, so yeah. But I think we're kind of in that transitional period between summer and winter.
So if, whatever the case, if it's a grant writer or if it's a heating contractor, before you hire anybody or you say yes to anybody, you have all of those reviews on the Better Business Bureau site, don't you?
Yeah, it's really cool. So there's a couple different reviews. We have reviews of if there's been any complaints filed against them. And we also have, we're one of the few BBBs that have customer reviews. And we're one of the tester areas, and I think they're expanding it to all the BBBs. But basically, these customer reviews have positive, neutral, and negative experiences, kind of like Google Reviews does. The only difference that makes ours kind of really special is we actually confirm with the business that they're a customer. We notify the business that they have a customer review, and we give the business an opportunity to respond to that review, either, again, those positive, negative, or neutral. And that allows the consumer, at least in our opinion, to look at the entire picture. Unlike on Google Reviews or something like that.
Anybody could say anything about anybody.
Yeah, and I've seen it. I mean, they have people like, I am such and such, not even a real name, like I'm Studio X. And I say this business is bad and this, don't ever do business. I'm going to rate you a 1 out of 5 star. Well, what could turn out is maybe that's not even a consumer. Maybe that's just somebody.
Or someone.
Yeah, a competitor. And, they're not being held responsible for the comments on there. You can say whatever they would like. But you have to have both sides of the picture in order to determine, is this a bad company or is this just a particular problem? And that's really cool about our website. You can do it. It's all free. You can even give us a call. We can take a look at that as well. We also
if you don't have website access, you can just call.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's, Bob's one of our first line of calling, and I'm, down on the second line. So if he's getting swamped, which he's always busy, we get all calls we pick up, and we're like, hey, they're rated this, and we rate them on an A through F scale, just like in grade school, and it's based on 16 different criteria. And then we can look at the complaints, how many they've had in the past 3 years, how many past year, do they have any government actions, are there any advertising reviews, which is also something we do, is we check their advertising. So stuff like that. It's really, really cool. It's a really great tool for consumers, especially the contracting type businesses that there tends to be inherent problems. You have people unlicensed or people that do subpar jobs. So it really allows you to get the full picture before you agree, hey, I'm going to hand over $15,000 to do this particular job.
Well, and I can see that coming with winter coming, especially if we have heavy snow.
Oh, yeah.
With the people wanting to take the snow off your roof or something like that, that at the moment you're going, yeah, go ahead. But,
Yeah, and your heating and cooling system, you turn on your heaters for the first time in the year and maybe they don't work. Maybe you just need to do an inspection and you just want to make sure that someone that's has the proper competency licensing,
or even this time of the year when they're having their sprinkler systems blown out,
Or the guy crawls up on your roof to remove the snow and you find out he's not insured. He falls off your roof. You know who's going to pay for that.
You are.
Yeah.
That's right. So.
Yeah, that's probably the worst thing is find out they're not insured, and then if something happens, you're on the hook for that. So
if people do have internet connection or access, if they go to BBB, the 3Bs.org, they can check out any business that we have records on in the U.S. or Canada, both countries. All you have to do is just log in, look up the business. It'll tell you everything that we're going to tell you if you call us on the phone. You're going to see the same exact thing. If they're in our area here, in your broadcast area, and they call us in Spokane at 509-455-4200, they'll get, and I apologize for the phone tree, but it's because we have a huge volume of incoming calls. We're a nonprofit, and we don't have a lot of people on the other end, but you will get a human, and we do want to talk to you. We want to tell you about the business. We love telling you about good businesses. They are out there. At this point, you're probably thinking nobody's trustable. That's why we're there, because we want to show you the good ones. And if you need somebody, snow removal, contractors, auto dealers, mechanics, anybody that
Christmas
you're
tree
looking
lots.
for them, you want some good ones, give us a call, because we'll tell you who the good ones are. And we know these guys because of their reputations. They're an ethical business. They want to do a good job for you. They're available. All you got to do is be able to find them.
And the Better Business Bureau here handles Eastern Washington, North Idaho, Montana.
Mm-hmm.
So anything across that inland northwest area comes through your main office,
Yeah,
correct?
yeah. Oh, yeah.
And the phone number again,
It's
509.
Oops.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
509-455-4200.
And or go to bbb.org.
bbb.org, and you will have the same access to the same information that we do when you call us on the phone.
And you won't get as scared as I am now after listening to all these things you guys have been telling me. Good grief. Well, thank you so much for being on with me this afternoon. You gave me more information than I really, really wanted to know. But it's well worth it, because, you know, there are a lot of honest people out there. But unfortunately, in this world, there are a lot who aren't, and they're going to try to take advantage of us. And the Better Business Bureau is out there to try to protect us, and I appreciate that. So thank you.
Oh, thank you.
And you all have a wonderful rest of your weekend. This has been the Senior Moment.